short 123,000 contracts, for long only 500 contracts. Consider they were short 41,000 contracts, for long only 1,400 contracts. How improbable is it that these two banks attract most of the investors who want to sell short? It is impossible to extrapolate that the two banks that hold these large limits for short positions in the COMEX are JP Morgan Chase and HSBC because of their huge position in the OCC derivatives market as regulator. The U.S. also the control of the currency does not provide, and even publishes market data. Now, yes, mortgage are called. As of recently, they're still short 30,000 contracts on the COMEX alone. So, I knew, of course, what I said, but Gary Hansen knew what I was going to say. So the whole thing started this hearing. When I was getting up to speak, he said, we're not going to have any aspersions about people, meaning, Morgan and HSBC and Marshall and this. Are we going to have censorship here? And so I made my presentation. But as some of you know, it was webcast all over the world. And wouldn't you know that the only webcast that went down was mine. And as soon as mine was over, it started working again. So that was enough. But there was more drama that was around it. It was much more exciting in a way. There's a fellow named Andrew McGuire in London who used to work for Goldman Sachs. And he used to be friends with these guys at JP Morgan Chase who bragged about how they were ripping off the public with their silver trading operation in regards with others. And he got ticked off. So he went to the CFTC for 4 months and gave them copies of and emails and said, here's when they're going to attack and when they're going to do it. And it happened over and over again. Met emails in advance. So he thought he was going to be able to testify in front of the CFTC. So right before the hearing, 2 days, he got hold of my colleague, Adrian Douglas, and said, here's what's going on, here are the emails, here's what's to do, and contacted Bart Chilton, and we had it set up. The fix was in for us for a change. During the question and answer period, because I only had 5 minutes, and as soon as I had my 5 minutes, the gong bell was going, get this guy out of here. So I had a chance to read a prepared statement, which we put together with Andrew McGuire about JP Morgan and so on. And it created quite a sensation. It went viral on the internet, especially after the next day Andrew and his wife were hit by a car. They hit 2 other cars with a helicopter chase. He hasn't had an operation since then. I mean, what are the odds of my webcast going down and Andrew McGuire getting hit by a car the next day after this surprise testimony in front of the CFTC? And even with all this, the emails, you think Bloomberg or Reuters would mention talking about? No, they wouldn't even mention GATA's name. And that's what we've been up against for the past 12 years. That's changing. We just got some good coverage in the FT, but boy, it's been a struggle. There are some that give GATA credit for the change in the trading habit of silver, but what they got to others in the history, and time will tell on that thing. One thing for sure, until the past day or two, silver has been trading totally differently than it has for years. When it first struck me when we had this correction ahead of the cartel-induced takedown from 1216 gold and ahead of their QE announcement, and silver went down to 750. One day, silver with gold down, with the dollar up, commodities down, every reason for gold to go in the tank like it always does, it turned around and went up. And they said, something has really changed here, and that's what I think has happened. But here's the silver picture as I see it. Thanks to the gold cartel, the price of silver has lagged for a very long time. As many of you know, it's very cheap to gold. Recently, the ratio has come down to about 58. It was the other day. I think it's going to go a lot lower, more to historical norms, and it's going to be very fun for all of you here along silver. In an extraordinary development, the same Bart Chilton, about a week or two ago, who was very troubled by the manipulation of the silver market, publicly said, if the CFTC doesn't say something about it soon, he is going to. Now, how unusual is that for civil silver? There are major lawsuits against JP Morgan right now, class action lawsuits. We expected 3 months of them. I don't know what they're dragging their butts for, but they've won many big cases. It's not frivolous. It's a big deal. On a similar lawsuit, we're taking on the Fed. Under the Freedom of Information Act, we've asked for stuff about gold swap operations. President Obama said He wants transparency. We told him to give us transparency, but then he came back and said it's secret. So we got ticked off. We got a great lawyer, and we're suing him in Washington District Court. They were trying to get summary judgment on him, which means even if you're right, we want the judge to throw it out. We came out with a couple of bombshells on him. Now they've asked for more time. So we'll see what happens there. The physical, there are very strong hands going after the physical market, which is one of the main reasons that it's traded so well. Some of you probably know that, not getting into the stalkers, it's a London trade. The guy's been incredible for 6 years. I mean, and Ken, when gold, silver was about 1850 or so, weeks ago, before it had to run up to close to 25, he said for the first time his big people he's around all were buying physical silver, and I've heard this from several sources. In my opinion, silver is in play, meaning the big money knows about Morgan's vulnerability, and they are going after it. Spokane Asset Management here, great company, big supporters of GATA, and for JP Morgan, another nightmare. They just got regulatory approval for a silver ETF. They're going around marketing it now, and they're sourcing out supply. So that's going to further drive the supply. The shorts need to keep the price down. I think the odds are very high of silver panic within the next 6 months. 6 months to a year, I think the price of silver will be, guesses or whatever. I'll let you compare this to the next year's conference. You can say, Bill, are you a dunce or are you looking pretty good? I think somewhere in the $30 to $40 range by the conference next year, and probably over $30 within 6 months. There's very little coverage by what I call Planet Wall Street and the Muppets that talk about silver. You don't get much coverage on silver yet. That is all to come. So, to sum up what I have to say in terms of how to make benefit you all here, I think the secret to understanding what silver is going to do is to realize and appreciate it was all part of this gold price suppression scheme. That's why silver never did what it did for so long, and I can go, wow, what's going on here? But the bad guys are running out of ammunition. They're being taken on. I think at some point here, you're just going to see a price explosion as the bad guys hit the wall. And so next year, you'll be able to come back here and say, you guys are right on it, or take you nuts. So again, we'll see about that one. Finally, to wrap up, we rely on support from companies. Only one silver company, Eco Silver, supported us. A lot of gold companies had. People are coming over from Europe just to take us out to dinner next Marines conference. But we haven't had much support from the silver people. So if you like what we have to say, companies here, we appreciate you asking them for our support. Anyway, thank you so much. It's a great conference. I hope to see you here next year. Thank you.